Welcome to the OctoStudio session in the Scratch conference. Woohoo!
Hi. Welcome, everybody.
We want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good, middle of the night for people who are joining us so late. And we are so happy to be here in the conference today, and we invite you to, maybe share in the chat where you're joining from, and maybe if you already have that you are curious about OctoStudio, something that you want to learn today. Today we're going to have this session where we're going to introduce to you 8 things to try with OctoStudio. And Theo, Craig, Eric, Natalie, and myself will be sharing these different features. And at the end, we're going to have some time to, for you to make questions. You can put questions in the chat, and we'll be answering that to all of you. And also, of course, if during the session you have some questions or comments, you please feel free to interact with us. And Jenny, also part of the OctoStudio team, will be here and in the chat and trying to, interact with you throughout the session. So to get started, let's get to know a bit about OctoStudio. Hey, Tel.
Hi, Cuddle. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you all and with my friends from Lifelong Kindergarten talking to you about OctoStudio. So OctoStudio will feel really familiar to Scratchers. And it's true that it builds off of a lot of the same ideas and design principles as Scratch, but it also has some unique affordances because of the mobile format and because of our design process. So I wanted to share a little bit with you all about that, because OctoStudio was really designed in collaboration with a global network of educators and makers and youth. When we went into lockdown in 2020, we started to hear from our global partners in countries like Brazil, where I'm from, and India and South Africa, that they really wanted to keep doing creative coding activities with their students, but their students often didn't have computers at home. But what they did have was maybe a smartphone or a tablet. And so that's the context that we started to design OctoStudio for communities around the world with barriers of access to computing devices or to internet connectivity. So OctoStudio is totally free and you don't need accounts. And once you download it, you don't need any internet connection. And because it's also on a mobile device, there's a lot of cool and different things that you can do with sensors, with a built-in camera, with sharing, and we're going to show you a lot of those cool things today. I'm going to start with a short video, which goes really fast, but it's okay because we will break down some of these really cool features throughout the session. Here we go. And now to dive into the 8 things to try with OctoStudio, I'll pass it off to Craig.
My name is Craig Hanning. I'm the lead engineer on the OctoStudio team. I'm really excited to live demo some of the exciting features in OctoStudio for you all today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to share my device screen. This is a live demo, so things can go wrong, but it's all right. We're all going to just go with the flow here. Let's see. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, so hopefully everyone is now seeing this. This is the OctoStudio main screen. We usually call this the lobby, but this is where all of your projects go as you start creating them. But today we're going to create a few projects together. And first we're going to start off with a block we like the shake block. So we're really, like Teo mentioned, OctoStudio connects to the physical world in many different ways. One of those ways is with physical device sensors. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new project, and we'll build this all together today. So click the green button for create a new project. You'll see you can choose a sprite or a backdrop first, but in this case, I'm going to go with sprite. And let me see, I'm going to look for the kangaroo because I really love the kangaroo. That's one of my favorite emojis. It goes so nicely with the shake block. So I'm going to do the kangaroo, and let's put the kangaroo in the park. All right, so now I've got a backdrop and a sprite or an emoji on the screen. And now I need to choose some coding blocks. So down at the bottom here, you'll see these are the palette of blocks that you have. You can scroll through them. You can click the categories to jump. But I know in this case, I want the shake block because that's what we're making first. So I'm going to go to the first category, and I'm going to grab a when I shake block. So I'll drag that one out. In this project, I don't need the when the play button is pressed. So I'm just going to take that one and put it back. But now I just have a when I shake. And the first thing I want to happen is it's a kangaroo. So of course it has to jump. So we'll go ahead and attach a jump block to the when I shake, and then I'll give my phone a shake. Yay, all right, the kangaroo is jumping. So that's the first piece. You'll see just with these two blocks, I'll hold up my phone, I'm shaking it. And every time I give it a good shake, the kangaroo hops on the screen. Well, let's add something else to that. So let's see, I'm gonna go over here to the colors and light category, and I'm going to use change color. This is one I really like. So now every time I shake, you'll see the kangaroo will shift colors a little bit. Maybe the kangaroo isn't the best one for color shifting, but you can see the effect happening there. And then I think I'd like to add one more thing to this project before we move on to another project type. So let's see, I'm going to go down here. I'm actually going to grab a second when I shake block because I want two different things to happen when I shake. So I'm going to grab when I shake, and then I'll go over to the green category, the motion category, and I'll grab a turn block. And my kangaroo, I really like my kangaroo to do a backflip. So I'm going to code it to do a backflip. And to do that, I'll change this to 360 degrees. This would be a front flip, and I said I wanted a backflip. And then only because I've experimented with this, I do know that the speed needs to be a little bit faster. So this last option here, the one with the sneaker on it, is how fast should it do this turn move. It starts in the middle, but I know I want it to go a little bit faster. So I'm going to choose the faster sneaker there. All right, now let me shake it and give it a test. All right, now we've got a color changing, back flipping kangaroo. And you can see all the blocks are there on the stage. Relatively few blocks are able to create a project like this. So that's the shake. And you all can feel free to play along as I'm going through some of these live demos, but you also can just kind of observe what's happening on the screen. We'll have plenty of time for you to play along as we go through the presentation. So this is demoing the shake block a little bit. All right, and then I think we should do one more. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. I'm seeing some amazing comments flowing through. But now let's look at the tilt block, because this is another really great use of the physical device sensors. So I clicked, sorry, I'll go back in. I clicked the home button up at the top to go back to my lobby, and I want to create another project this time. Again, we're going to choose a sprite, and this time I'm going to go and choose the taco because I want to make a taco game. So I'm going to look through here, and I'm sure someone's seeing it right now. There it is. Okay, and then we'll choose the plate backdrop. All right, so now I've got a taco sitting on a plate, but now we want to make it move by using the tilt sensor that's built inside of my phone. So I'm going to go over here to the last category, the three dots at the end, and you'll see the very first block there says tilt to move. So I'm going to grab that one and drag it out. And some of you who are familiar with Scratch or have played with OctoStudio may have noticed something. When I dragged out that block, two blocks came out. It came with a forever block. That's right. The tilt block really pairs well with the forever block, so we decided it should just come with that. It doesn't mean it has to stay in there, but it's really most useful when this is something that's happening continuously, and you'll see that in a moment when I run it. So let's see. So we've got when I click the play button, forever tilt to move. Let's click play and see what happens. Okay, so now as I tilt my phone around, I'm able to free move the taco around the stage area. All right, so I'm going to stop that for a moment. If you only wanted to move left and right, you have an option for that. Now the taco will only go this way. And you also have an option for up and down if you only wanted to go that way. But in my game, I wanted to move all around. So I'm going to leave it on that default option, which is move anywhere on the screen. Okay, so that's the first part of our tilt game, right? We have a character on the screen. It's moving around with my tilt. But now we need something to interact with. So let's go and add another character to this project. There's a couple of ways of doing that. One way, you'll see there's a little emoji character with a plus icon here. That's kind of the quick add if you want to add another sprite. Another option, though, is to open up this sprite tray here, which is a list of all the different sprites or characters in your project. And so now that I have that open, I can click the plus to add a new one. And let's see, we have to pick maybe some taco ingredients. Let's see, I'm going to go with the tomato. Go with cheese, queso, but I'm going to pick the tomato because I see it right at the top. So now I have a tomato. And now the goal of my game is to go and collect the taco ingredients, of course. So let's see. So we need to code this to do something. So again, I'm not going to use the play on this one, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And I'm going to go back to the first category. And let's look through some of these hat blocks and see if we see something that could be useful to us. Oh, here's one. When touches. Oh, and look at the nice emojis in there. When the tomato touches the taco, what do we want to happen? So this means when these two sprites bump into each other, we can trigger something to happen on the screen. Well, let's see. We'll start off really simple, and then we'll turn it into an actual game. So let's just how about we do glow effect? So now every time the taco touches the tomato should glow. Let's give it a test and see. Okay, you see the tomato glowed in yellow. And now I need to add one more thing to really make this game complete. I'm going to go to motion, go to. So go to block is one where you can tell it exactly where to go on the stage. But if you open the menu, you'll notice there are the dice for random. And that's really what I want for my game. I want it to go to a random position as soon as I tap it. And again, thinking about speed, should I see it glide to that position? Well, no, in this case, I want it to teleport or jump to that position very quickly. So for that, I'm going to use the lightning bolt, which is the instantaneous move. So let's go ahead and try this one now. So it's going to glow, and then it's going to move to a new position, and then I can chase it down and get it again, and then it's going to move. So you can see we already have the kind of building blocks of a game here. And I'm sure those of you in the audience can already think of all kinds of ways to extend this, to make it your own, to take it in new directions. But what we wanted to show you now was just a little sneak peek into how you can start to use some of the physical device sensors to interact with projects inside of OctoStudio. But like we mentioned, there's many more ways of interacting with the physical world. So now I think we'll look at a few more of these examples together. Thanks, everyone.
That's right. Thank you, Craig. Well, I just, before we continue, I just want to remind all of our team here to try to speak a little bit slowly because of our ASL interpreters. I was just being told by the Scratch team that would be, because it's so interesting and we get excited about things. Okay, so one other thing that we can do with OctoStudio is bring our world into our project. So I think we can play this little short video just while I'm talking about it. So one very interesting thing to do is just we can, take a photo of something that we see and immediately include it in our project, or we can even, use something from our gallery, from our photo gallery on the phone or in our tablet to, use it as a sprite or as a backdrop. And so with this, we can, we end up, creating anytime, anywhere, as we like to say, and also, bringing the offline world to our digital, to our screens as well, and also starting this coding process with the world around us. And this other one thing that we like to say,
which is
to do. Yeah. So our partners in Chile, the Fundación Cruzando, they had this interesting experience where they, went to the park with their students, and after exploring around and observing nature and collecting, different photos and images and sounds from nature, they would then create some projects with OctoStudio about it. So Lorena is talking a bit about it in this video.
To a hill,
And we asked them to take pictures of nature and then to start doing their own project. The outcome was fantastic. We truly believe that going outdoors is the way to go.
Yes, and we love to say that too. Like, it's not because we are using our phones and tablets and digital devices with OctoStudio that we want to, like just being focus on that, focus on the screen. We actually want to, go outside, explore, observe better our world, and then at some point creating projects with it. And one thing that
We took a group of students.
oh, there's a thing with with going forward with slides. But then another thing is like combining code, cardboard, and crafts. And this is like connected to bringing your world into your project. It's something that we love to see as well. I think we can play the video while I'm talking about it. So you can make OctoStudio projects as part of a physical project of something that you created with any other materials in the off the screen, and then end up like coding some part of it to interact with what you created physically. So you can create interactive scenes or stories, and I don't know, just like hacking a magazine to create like a surprising moment of it. And all of this with like starting with drawing, with painting, with crafting, with things that are interesting also in the real world, right? In the physical world. And here are some examples from our partners in Tinkering Studio, and also from workshops that we've been facilitating with so many partners and people in workshops and all. Yeah, so this is an interesting way of people, spending some time like crafting, creating stuff, and then at some point connecting with OctoStudio with the digital part too. And now I think Eric is gonna show something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to show the Beam feature. This kind of opens up new possibilities to create projects across multiple devices. And for me, as a longtime scratcher, this is like a radically like new way to create, and it's really exciting. So Teo, if you could play this video. We can see that there's one device, there's two devices here, both running OctoStudio. One is embedded in a craft material, a watering can. And this young person is going to shake the phone, which is going to send a Bluetooth signal, a beam signal to the other project. Now, this is one-to-one. This is one phone to an iPad, but you can do like one device to 50 devices, anything that's in Bluetooth range. And it's been out for a year, and I'm still coming up with like new ideas, turning up new ideas. If we go to the next slide, let me show you how it works, because it looks complex, but it's super, super simple. So phone number one, I'm going to say when I tap the red button, I'm going to send the beam signal, which is the triangle. And then the other phone, when I receive it, I'm going to move 150 steps. So I'm running both projects, tap the button, boom. That is, and so it's a low floor, easy to get started. Here's another example, cute animation. Here's a magic wand. And again, the physicality of this one, just to appreciate, like sometimes like tethered behind like a laptop, but like, no, you can like be sort of moving the device, embedding it in things. And so it's really, really, really fun to play with, infinite possibilities. I don't know, Craig, if you wanted to add anything else to that. I know Craig, kind of the mastermind behind Beam.
So yeah, the Beam that you see today is actually going through some changes. So we are expanding it to work better in group environments. One of the limitations, we really focused on the low floors when we implemented it because we wanted it to be easy to get started. But one thing we realized is when you're in a big group setting, you have a lot of people trying to use Beam all at one time. You can be kind of conflicting with each other's signals. So we do have an upcoming feature soon that'll hopefully make this a little bit easier to use within classroom settings, if that's what you're interested in doing. But yeah, we're really excited to hear what you all think about the Beam block for sure.
Cool. And I'll make sure to talk slower. I get really excited about Beam. I also get really excited about Magnet. So yes, you can control your project with a magnet, which is kind of hard to believe, but you're used to sort of tapping a project or clicking on something or using arrow keys. But Teo, if you actually go back and restart the video from about 7 seconds, you can see this is a tutorial where I explain it. So if you pass the magnet close to your phone, you can trigger something to happen. So it's a bit like an event block. It is an event block. And I show here, Teo, you can keep the video running. I show later in the video, you can use, no worries, let's keep the video going. Yep. So not all magnets work. Check out magnets around your house. Fridge magnets, I'd say maybe 25% of my fridge magnets work. So the strength of the magnet does kind of matter. I like to embed the magnets in a craft material. So I embedded that in a bee, and then you can see the wind magnet event block here. And then you just start to add code underneath that. So when the magnet passes closely over the phone, I want the bee to move across the screen and want it to glow. And then I can see when I put the bee close to the phone, the bee moves. Again, infinite possibilities. We can keep the video going, Teo, at the last 20 seconds. You'll see you can make musical instruments. You can make a magical paintbrush. This is me explaining the magnet sensor on the phone, might be the top of the phone or the bottom of the phone. It kind of depends on what phone you're using. But here's a magic wand, really like that project. And then this is a guitar where you strum it and it plays a note. Yeah, anyways, so I am talking way too fast again. I'm sorry, but I hope you all do check out Magnet.
Real quick, we're getting a lot of questions in the chat, Eric, about whether the magnet will hurt the phone, if it'll damage the phone in some way. What do you?
That's
a great question. I defer to Craig again on this one.
Yeah, no, unless you somehow have gotten a really powerful magnet, one one that they would not sell in stores, you're a scientist and you have access to really rare, no, the magnet will not harm your device. And I know this is my my reaction too, because I know I came from a time when if you put a magnet near an old monitor, it started going all wonky and doing all kinds of crazy things. That does not happen with the smartphone, tablet technology. So no, any off-the-shelf magnet that you can get will not harm your device at all. And this is actually how, if you have ever seen the devices with folio covers, when you close the cover and the screen turns off, that's actually what it's doing. It's using the magnet sensor to detect that the cover has been open and closed. So no, this is a built-in feature of your phone, and it's definitely good to use. So,
thanks, Craig.
The next thing we wanted to share with you all is a unique part of OctoStudio, which is the sonification and that it works with screen readers. I'm wondering if Natalie is available to talk a little bit about this feature.
Yeah, so one thing that when we were starting OctoStudio, we knew from the beginning that we wanted to make it accessible for screen readers so that people who are learners who are blind or low vision could use a screen reader. And we've been working with advisors, and it's been really exciting to be able to, Katya on our team, Zoe and others have been working on this. And actually everyone can try out this feature where you can hear your code. So you can hear if something's visual is going on the screen, you can hear it, and it's actually pretty fun. So maybe you could play this as you with sound. If you tap it's a setting in the, in your settings, you can turn on sound effects. That will automatically turn on if you're using, so you're now hearing the code. And as you tilt, you can hear the sprite character moving up and down. So I encourage you to try this out. Like I said, if you turn on the setting that says sound effects for blocks in your on the home or lobby page, in the settings, you'll find under accessibility that you can turn that on. If you have a screen reader enabled, so that works on both Android TalkBack or iPhone VoiceOver. If you turn on your screen reader, automatically these sound effects will play. And we're really excited to continue to work on this feature, these various accessibility features. So, yeah.
And one more thing I wanted to share about OctoStudio is, on our phones nowadays, we're really used to sending pictures and videos and memes and things to our friends and family. So we wanted to also make it really easy from OctoStudio to be able to share your projects and your ideas. And so I played this video, and you can see that we have a share menu where you can share a video, a GIF, or a project file. And you can use most messaging apps that you're used to. You can send via email. You can definitely share between like an iPhone and an Android if you use one of these platforms. And if you are sharing via the same sort of phone, you can do it via AirDrop, which is really cool to share the project file. And I wanted to also talk a little bit about some more resources that you all can look forward to. So on our website, octostudio.org, you'll find both a reference guide, which kind of goes through all of the features and blocks in the app and what they do. And you'll also find answers to some common questions in our support page. On our YouTube channel, we have lots of videos with project ideas and tutorials from, projects that are really great to get started with, to maybe more complex projects for learners who are looking for more inspiration. Our friends at the Tinkering Studio have been doing these OctoStudio explorations where they've tried out different activities and workshop prompts and shared back some of their findings and how they structured these activities. So if you're looking for some ideas for things to run in your classroom, in your makerspace, wherever it is your context that you do your work in, you can check out this QR code or the bit.ly link, and you'll find some ideas there. I think our friends are also maybe sharing links in the chat. And then finally, you can join our mailing list where we send updates about the app or about some initiatives that we run. For example, we do something called Octo Sparks, where we have different themes that we invite people to create around and share projects. So we've done like connecting with nature, celebrating where we're from, world beats. And you can also find us on all of these other social media apps. So LinkedIn, Twitter or X, Instagram, and Facebook. We are at OctoStudio app in all of those. And we also have a special email just for educators. If you have any questions or ideas, you can email us at educator@octostudio.org. And then finally, if you want to share something with us today, we would love to see what you tried out. If this session inspired you to make something, you can share it on this Padlet link. You can share a project video along with a file or a GIF. Or you can also share it on social media and tag us at OctoStudio app or hashtag OctoStudio. And
I just want to bring some questions. I think it's time now. We have a lot of time for questions. And I've been trying to follow the chat, like everyone participating so much. Thank you. Thank you for that. Also, already some educators already sharing what they have been doing about OctoStudio. This is so great to see. And but let's get started with questions. And I'm gonna ask help for everyone here in the team. But so just like some of the questions Jenny have been answering, but I think it's nice for us to bring back. We saw that some people joined it later in the time. So does OctoStudio work both with Android and Apple? Craig, do you want to bring that?
Yes, so OctoStudio works on iOS and Android, and the projects can be shared between the two systems. Beam can operate between iOS and Android. It's not like if you're on iOS, you can only beam to other iOS devices. So we've made a real strong effort to make sure that the Android experience and the iOS experience are practically the same, as much as they can be the same. So you'll see that, yeah, they should be pretty much the same.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Teresa asked, is OctoStudio free? Who wants to join this one?
OctoStudio is totally free, and it always will be, and it has no ads, and it has no data tracking.
Amazing. Salena, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, asked, can we draw our own sprites in OctoStudio? I don't know if you want to show that.
Yeah, maybe Craig, you can demo that.
Yeah, I think Craig would be. Yeah.
That doesn't mean everyone has to see my drawing skills, but I'm happy to do it. So, so let's see. I'm still in my project here. And let's see. Okay, well, this is a great opportunity. Let's draw some lettuce together, because that's a nice, easy thing to draw. It doesn't have to have any particular shape. So I mentioned earlier, you can also click the emoji plus here to add a sprite. So that's what I'm going to do this time. And you'll see I have a few options on the top. Oh, so I have the list of emojis, but then I also have the choice to paint. I can use my camera to capture something, or I can go to my camera roll or my photo library and pull something in that I've already taken a picture of. But I know the question was, can we draw? So I'm going to choose paint. And now you'll see the paint editor. So let's see, I'm going to go and grab a nice green color. Let's grab a nice dark green. And then let's give some sort of leafy shape thing. Please don't laugh at me. All right, now I'm going to go to the paint bucket because we're going to fill this in. And I'll pick a different color green. There we go. So now maybe let's give it a little bit more detail, right? We can make it look a little bit more lettuce-like. I think that's starting to look like lettuce. All right, so you'll see there's other tools that you can interact with in here. I use the paintbrush. There's an eraser, paint bucket fill. There are some predefined shapes, and then there's a text tool if you wanted to use text in your painting. But this looks good to me, so I'm going to click the check mark. So the check mark, green check right up at the top right corner, and that will put the new sprite into my project. So now we can code up the same thing. While I'm in here, why don't I show one more feature? I'm going to go back to my tomato because I really want the same code on my lettuce. So I'm going to show you all a really cool way of copying that code over there. So I'm just going to push and hold on this stack. You'll see I have an option in here for copy script to. And now I can check off my lettuce and say check. And now if I jump over to the lettuce to see, there it is. Now it says when the lettuce touches the taco. So we can go ahead and play the game again now. And now we can collect the lettuce and the tomato. All right.
Amazing, Craig. Can you keep your screen on your phone?
Yes, absolutely.
Because Amalia asked us, how do we create a sprite from a picture? Because, you know, I showed like bring your world into OctoStudio. And so if you could like, I don't know if you are in a place that you can, you know, take a photo of something and
sure.
The sprite.
All right, let's see. Since we're here at the Scratch conference, I'm going to use my Scratch Cat Stuffy. We're going to take this Stuffy from my desk and bring it into an OctoStudio project. So let's see if we can set this up. All right, so I'm going to go, let's go out. We're going to start a new project this time. So I'll say create new project. Let's do choose a sprite. This time I'm going to pull from the camera because that's what we said we wanted to do. And now you'll see here, I've got the Scratch Cat. Snap a picture. Oh, uh-oh. Sorry about that. I think I might be on a different version, and live demos, this can always happen, right? But that's okay. We're going to try it again.
You can see it's still new features being added thanks to Craig and all of our product team.
There we go. I don't know what happened that first time, but now I'm gonna cut it out a little bit. I want to get rid of some of the background around my cat because I really just want the sprite in there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do my best. And, you know, if you spend more time and you zoom in, you can really get a lot of the backdrop out. But let's get most of it out for now. And if you're not perfectly happy with your cropping, you can always go into the paint editor after and use the eraser to take out more of the edges. So you don't have to get it exactly perfect on the import, but I'm going to do this. And then let's choose a backdrop for this one. It's the Scratch conference, so I feel like the party atmosphere is appropriate. Okay, so now we have our cat inside of our project, and let's make it do something. Let's say, scratch box. All right. There, we took a physical object from my desk and brought it into the project using the camera feature.
Craig, maybe you could show the ideas section. So that little icon in the center, top center.
Yeah, so folks see right up here, there's a little light bulb with a question mark on it. And if you tap that, ideas to try. Does anyone want to say anything about these?
Yeah, I think it's another way of showing how with just a few blocks, like 2 or 3 blocks, you can do different things. And that can, you know, take the best of your sensors, of your phone, and be changing on your...
Yeah, we've curated like kind of like 6 things that might be nice to add to a project. So if you click, I don't know, one click glow, Craig, see what happens.
Great.
So we give you a sense of like what will happen, and then we kind of give you a snapshot of the code, and then you can hit the add code to project. And you can see it then drops into the coding area. Then go ahead and maybe click Scratch Cat and see what happens. So I think it's a good way to kind of kick off creating your project or getting used to OctoStudio.
Great. We have so many questions. I'm trying to keep up here. But I think, so I'm trying, yeah. So let's see about Beam, all right? We showed how to use Beam, but there are so many questions about it. So Joanna asked, like, if the Beam is Bluetooth driven, then what does not, then that does not require AirDrop, right? And then we don't allow, she's saying that we don't allow AirDrop for our students, but we do allow Bluetooth. And just this other one also about Beam. For Beam, do you need Wi-Fi? And can we use Beam between 2 iPads instead of a phone?
Great, all great Beam questions. So the answer is yes, it only uses Bluetooth. So no Wi-Fi necessary. So no data connectivity or Wi-Fi necessary. And sorry, what was the other? Oh, AirDrop. AirDrop you don't have to have enabled. As a completely separate thing, AirDrop, if you do have access to that, is a really nice way to get kids sharing projects with each other or having collecting projects from students. But if you don't have that, that's okay. Beam still works entirely, or you can still use the app without AirDrop. And then so Beam, it's device to device. Doesn't matter if you're going iPad to iPad, iPad to iPhone, Android to iPad.
Tablet, yeah.
Any potential direction you would like to go, it works. Yep.
Amazing. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sharing. I'm going to send some questions to Theo now that shared about sharing. So Elizabeth asked, if you shared a file with a friend, will it prompt them to download the app? And one is asking also, are there projects shared interactively, like if the recipient tilts the phone, or it's just an image? So you know, about the format of sharing and how can people play the project?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So if you share the project file, the recipient does have to have the app also installed to be able to open it. They'll see a file that's like .octostudio, and if they don't have the app installed, then their phone won't know how to open it. But if they do download it and open the file, then that project is exactly like from the phone that created it. They can interact with it, play with it, and they can also build on top of it. They can continue to add code. So this is a fun way to be able to sort of remix OctoStudio projects, is by sending the project files. You can also share a video or a GIF, which, you know, basically any smartphone or tablet out there will be able to play somehow, even if they don't have the OctoStudio app installed. So if you want to share your creation with somebody and you don't know that they have the app, you can still share via a GIF or a video.
Yes, thank you. Also, Sandra is asking, will we change the original file if you share? No, you're going to share exactly the project file, and that can be open, as Tao was saying, in another phone or tablet.
Yeah. And the original file won't be changed because, yeah, so the one that is on your phone will stay that way, and the version that they open on their phone is a copy. So they will be able to add to it. It won't interact with yours.
Yeah, great.
Great
I'm
question.
going to invite Natalie to answer this one. So Teresa asked right in the beginning, like, is OctoStudio free? And Chris asked, does OctoStudio uses the cell phone, the smartphone data to connect in the field, you know, when you go outside, as we were saying?
Yeah, again, one of the really delightful things about working on OctoStudio has been the collaboration from the beginning. We started to work on it because of requests from Brazil. Joao Adriano is on right now, and our partners in Brazil, Solomon in Uganda, and others asked us early in the pandemic, we need something like Scratch on phones and mobile devices that we have. So we started to work on it. We actually, with Paula Bonta, who actually worked on Scratch Junior too. And then our whole team has been working, again, collaborating every step of the way with people in Brazil and other countries. Again, many of you are on. Thank you so much. We've been, creating together. And one key factor, Linford from South Africa made clear, and others, it needs to work offline. And keeping the size down. So Craig and others really made sure the app works offline, not using any data once you install it. And then also to, what was the other thing that you were asking? Free, yes, free. We, of course, like Scratch, wanted to make sure that OctoStudio is free and accessible. And again, working on Android, tablets and phones, Apple, iPad, iPhone. And then that's one of the things that our team, Craig and others, are working on Chromebook support. And we're continuing to just hear your feedback. I know also one of the top requests is something like costumes, like in Scratch. We kept it simple, like Scratch Junior at the beginning, but that is one of our top requests. So it's something that we're planning to figure out how to put it in a way that doesn't get too complicated. And, we have a smaller screen, but it is something that we get asked a lot. So, but we're really eager for your feedback. I know Jenny is answering a lot of the questions. Jenny listens to every single thing. She keeps track of everything. If you put it in online on the octostudio.org website, there's a feedback form in multiple languages, but there's also an educator email she can share. But we're just constantly, Tail, Carolina, and others, we're just always trying it out, right, around the world, and hearing what are you seeing? Is something confusing? And it's been just, again, this wonderful process, hearing a lot of you here, like saw from Vietnam, across Latin America, South Africa, and again, we're really wanting to expand that, Thailand, Vietnam, and other places. So just let us know. We're really eager to hear. How are you planning to use it? And like the beam block is something when Mitch and our group talks about the 4 Ps, this peers part, it's amazing how delightful that beaming across and having my project can make your projects do something and vice versa. We had from Chile teachers visiting, English teachers from Chile visiting, and they had not done coding before. Very quickly, they were beaming, having conversations across phones. So in terms of English, or other language learning, it's a great way to do it. You can see I get excited about it, but it's really fun to hear all the ways you're planning to use it.
And it's really fun to hear you talking about it, Natalie. I actually have more questions for you and for everyone. But the costume subject, like many people asked, Edward was one, it's just like, will characters have costumes in the future? I miss costumes. And yes, everybody misses costumes. So this is something that we definitely think about. One thing about resources, so Sandra asked, Are there tutorials in the app to help understand the different icons, the different blocks and things that we are seeing it?
Well, actually on the website, we do have a reference guide. And so if you go to the OctoStudio website and go to the support page, there's a reference guide. If people want to help, we have it in a few languages, but if you want to help, so we're continuing to update. The reference guide really explains all the options that are there. Again, if you see other things, but I would point you to the reference guide. We do say on the first page of the reference guide, the best way to learn OctoStudio is by exploration, by trying it. This is similar to Scratch. Whenever I meet a Scratcher who's so fluent in Scratch, amazing projects, how did you learn Scratch? Almost always they say two things. They don't talk about the tutorials we created, although some people obviously use them and find them helpful. But the top two ways that kids learn Scratch and OctoStudio is they say by exploring. I just tried things out and I figured out what they did, because they can see the feedback or hear it. And then the second way they learn is by looking at others' projects. We have a couple sample projects built into OctoStudio. There's an Explore tab. You can try and remix them. And then we're still exploring what are other ways. Like YouTube is a great way. That YouTube channel is just amazing. Zoe, Teo, Eric, and others creating videos, and then young people are sharing some of their creations there. But that's another thing we're continuing to look at. Like you can use Padlet to share, like we're doing today. And what are the different ways to send projects, like a video as a GIF or as a project file?
Yes, thank you, Natalie.
I saw Chris asked, is it good to teach Scratch first and then go to OctoStudio? I think some people are doing the other way, because OctoStudio is maybe easier, lower floor. You can also, some people use them together, but I would say that's one way, that because every block has an icon and it has built-in speeds, that might be a way to go if you have access to both.
Yeah, we have been, since the opening of the Scratch conference today, we've saw like this celebration of Scratch Junior, right, as well. And people are asking about that. Like Gisela asked, what age group is the app designed for? So I guess this is also, and we have been seeing like people using it with all ages. I mean, we do know that the blocks have, like the written part, you might need to know how to read to use the app, but we have seen as well students who do not know how to read yet using and making projects, and using like mostly taking photos, drawing, and including that into some basic coding. That is really interesting to see. Okay, so I have some a really interesting comment here from Emma. So she says, my daughter loves creating stories with OctoStudio. Can't wait to try these new features with her to create projects that interact with the real world. I think she finds the voice generation on OctoStudio a little limiting, and doesn't always want to record her own voice for characters. So is there any plan to add more voice and recording options? Maybe Craig, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. It's funny because we were actually talking about this very feature yesterday in our discussions, because we do see the need for this to be able to offer different voices to different characters in your projects. So definitely a feature we're actively talking about right now, and hopefully we'll have something soon. No, I can't promise any timelines yet, but it is something we're thinking about.
Yeah. One thing, I don't know who asked, I'm so sorry about that, but someone asked if in the future we would have a web version of OctoStudio. And also, I know that some educators have been asking about Chromebooks and other platforms. So what is the perspective on that?
Yeah. So we are actively working on a Chromebook version of the app right now. One thing you will notice is, well, Chromebooks have a different amount of sensors inside of them. Some of them are much more like traditional laptops where they don't have tilt sensors, magnet sensors, any of these additional ones that we often get in smartphones or tablets. So that is one limitation of the Chromebooks, but we're actively designing fallbacks so that you can interact with any project if you're using it on a Chromebook. So those are some of the challenges we need to solve before we have a Chromebook version, but we are actively working on that now, and we're hoping maybe later 2024, early 2025, having a Chromebook version available for people to start testing. And then that work will sort of naturally progress into maybe some form of web editor someday. Of course, as we've talked a lot about today, one of the powerful aspects of OctoStudio is connecting it to the physical world, is using device sensors. A lot of that access does go away when you go into like a web editor, a web browser. So it won't have the same maybe feature set, but I think a lot of the questions that we're answering for Chromebooks will allow us to develop a web editor so people can play with projects on the web someday.
Great. Keep here, Craig, because Amaya, she's like saying, yay, Chromebook version, and also asking, would it be possible to use it with Raspberry Pi? And I also saw a comment or a question at some point about OctoStudio being, connected to any robotics and like physical hardware and stuff. So do you want to bring some?
Yes, absolutely. So let's see, Raspberry Pi. So when we do eventually have a web editor available, it would definitely work on the Raspberry Pi. It would at some point be fun to think about, what would an OctoStudio version look like on the Raspberry Pi? I am a huge fan. I mean, I have one here sitting on my desk, arm's reach from me. I love Raspberry Pis. So trust me, I'm in the same boat as you. And then for connecting to physical devices, this is definitely a feature we plan to integrate because mobile devices can just talk to Bluetooth devices very easily. So, thinking about microbits and other Bluetooth hardware platforms out there, it feels like a natural fit for OctoStudio to in some way communicate with them. So definitely we're planning to explore that as a future feature. But even right now, we have one of our friends, John Maloney, is working on a project called Microblocks. And Microblocks is a hardware platform for coding devices like the microbit. And they've actually figured out a way to use the beam block inside of OctoStudio to talk back and forth with the microbit. So even though we don't have an official hardware extension today, there are some new strategies for doing this, for communicating between microbit and OctoStudio that you might check out.
Yay. Alison is asking, well, first of all, like we have this big brother that is Scratch, right? And everybody's here also because, we are Scratchers. We love Scratch. We have some experience or interest on it. And so it's also like the OctoStudio team have been working in OctoStudio and have been, developed Scratch in the past. So it's more than natural to hear this question, and I love it. Like, is it possible? This way I never heard before, but Alison is asking, is it possible to connect a project from OctoStudio with a project in Scratch? How can we think about that?
Not currently possible, but once we do the hardware extensions, Scratch can talk to Bluetooth devices. OctoStudio could be a Bluetooth device, so there is a possibility there for an actual connection.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. And let me see if we have any new questions. Okay, what is something? All right. So first I wanted to just bring, I don't see more questions, but please ask, help me if you have any. I guess Kristen, CB question, we can leave it to the end. That is something we're excited about next with OctoStudio. But Natalie, I want to ask you this. how did you come up with the name OctoStudio? Karen asked that, and I'm,
Yeah. Yeah, and Eric has a little video that talks about it. But we brainstorm again with our partners from around the world. It seemed like every day, wow. But we know people who speak so many different languages, and we're like, how about this? We had a lot of people say, "What's the mascot?" And at first we thought, well, maybe we don't need one, but eventually the idea of the octopus came up because they're creative, they're playful, they're good at problem solving, they can change color and shape, and it seemed to work well in different languages. And then again, we tried out Vero, Theo, Carolina, and Joao, and we're asking kids, and we asked around the world, and the idea of studio, we actually had a poll and it came up as the one that could work pretty well across the world. So it was a lot of work though. Sometimes I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking of names and brainstorming names. We all had this giant brainstorming. Karen from the Tinkering Studio did. So anyway, it was a big process. Yes. More than 100.
We own a lot of unused
but
domains
we're
now
happy with
as a
it.
result.
Yeah. You don't have to mention those. But there is a past.
And the different color blocks, you'll see the legs. The designer Dennis is from Brazil. He's in Brazil, who created that with us for us. So we're happy with it.
Yeah, I wanted to mention also, as Joel mentioned in the chat, which is true, that at some point we had a list with more than 100 different name options and combinations, and something that maybe I wouldn't have thought of before going through this process, but even thinking about how pronounceable and understandable all the different sounds in the name are in different languages around the world, like that in itself is a big challenge to find a name that fit well. And so that was like a very thoughtful process from the team. Is something I would highlight, and from our global partners.
Yeah, from children too, like interviewing children, after this experience, how would you call it? And they were so honest about it. It was so good. Okay, let's bring CV question. What is something that we are excited about working on next with OctoStudio? Can I start this one? We've been talking a lot about the app, and things. And one thing that I'm really, really excited about working next, that is something that, we have been working already, but I think just the idea of sharing this with everyone, it's pretty exciting. That is learning resources. We are thinking, okay, like coding cards, and also like slides that could be interesting for people who are doing workshops or using in class or doing PD programs, and also like activity guides. Also, like we have so many things already, with the YouTube channel tutorials, and have been doing live streams, have been inviting the community to create each month in a different theme, and I can't wait to see like educators and people around the world like sharing more about what they are doing, what you are doing with everything that we are trying to develop with all the inputs that are having from workshops and all. Anyone else want to share? No, you shared a lot already.
Like most
I guess
favorite questions.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of things that I'm excited about with OctoStudio. Definitely different learning resources is one of them. But just to give a different answer, I'm really excited for some different ways that we can maybe share projects without necessarily being like physically present or already having somebody's contact information to send to them. This is a little hint, I guess, but I'm really excited for better ways to share projects and access projects. Mm-hmm.
We're going to continue to work on accessibility. I know Heather had a suggestion, and so that's something that we're planning to do. The Beam block is going to be expanded very soon, so look for that. transitioning backdrops over time that like fade. So a lot of new things. And again, as we hear from you and just even the things in the chat are going to get us thinking, what else should we be adding? So thank you so much for all your comments.
Thank you. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
your participation, for being here with us. We hope this is going to be available to all of you. So thank you all for joining. Thank you to the ASL interpretation team who has been here with us patiently trying to, bring this communication to all of you. So we hope to see you again in the conference and have fun.
Thank you, everyone.